Hi everybody and very welcome to this spontaneous Tuesday night live stream. I hope you're doing absolutely fantastic out there, my friends. I am so sorry that I couldn't do a live stream on Sunday like I normally do. I know a lot of you guys were expecting that, but the fact was that I was out skiing together with my friends that came down from Sweden, and I didn't have enough time to do it on Sunday because I had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning on Monday to get myself to Bergamo, where I am sitting right now in a hotel room. So I am praying that this internet connection will hold up good enough for you guys so that you can watch me in this live stream. If not, if something happens, then we'll just try it another time. But right now, I'm here for you. And just after we do this intro, I will take all of your questions. So just stay tuned. And here we are. Right, guys, so what I'm going to do, as always, I will be prioritizing questions that comes in through the super chat, because that is people who are actually helping the channel out economically. Also, the Mentour Aviation app, I will be taking questions straight off the app, and then I will be taking out questions from you guys that I can see there's quite a lot of you guys watching and asking questions here in the normal chat. Great to see you. I had a question here that I wanted to answer already, and that was if I get Valentine's Day off. And now here we get to one of the big downsides of being a pilot. Okay, there are not many, but they do exist. And one of those problems are, okay, why is this happening now? Okay, guys, it looks like we do have some problems with the video output here. I'm not sure that this is going to work. Do you guys see me? Just say yes if you do. All right, cool. I'm going to continue working until you guys say that it doesn't work. All right. So one of the big downsides of this occupation is that the big holidays we do have to work on, because the thing is that when you guys want to be traveling, which are on the holidays, in that case we need to be working because someone needs to fly the aircraft that you guys are going on. So one downside is that we do work on holidays. That includes things like Christmas, New Year's, Valentine's Day, Midsummer, all of these bigger holidays you can expect to be working. All right. This means that if you have a family, you might have to arrange it around so that you have, alternate Christmas or something like that. It does happen. It's unfortunate when it does, but you will have some of these holidays off as well. So yeah, I am working tomorrow. I'm actually getting up at like 5 o'clock in the morning to do a sim check on some poor guys that I have to do an LPC on tomorrow morning. So yeah, I will be working. But I have already sent my lovely wife some flowers. Sandra, I love you if you're watching this, which you probably aren't. Anyway, yeah, I wanted to mention something as well. So I've just released a new version of the Mentour Aviation app. So if you're watching this and you have the application, update it, because the push notifications have improved. Okay, there is a possibility that when you update you might get 2 push notifications for a week or so, and that's because we're running 2 parallel systems until we have made sure that the new system works. There are no major updates otherwise, but I am working on making more updates. So if you do have the app, guys, I want you to do 2 things. I want you to register so that you can go in and partake in the chat, so that we can, people can ask you questions and you can ask questions and I can tell you stuff, basically the more people we get into the chat, the more fun it is. Second thing is, make sure that that you have given the app a grading and a rating in the App Store, and that you have that you have ticked in the push notifications. Otherwise you won't get the pushes when people want to talk to you in the chat, and that's not very fun. Good. I see that the video output is not great. It's coming in and out. So I'm not sure how long I'm going to be able to continue this. This is the internet from the hotel that is not working very well. And, just tell me, guys, are you seeing me or not? Just tell me yes if you are. Cool. Anyway, it seems like Perfect. So some people are seeing. So it seems like there's some questions coming in here from the Mentor Aviation chat. Anyway, right. So I am unable to pay for my flight training. What should I do? It's about $50,000 for CPL here. Yeah. All right. So this question is one of the hardest questions around. Now I am working really hard through this channel to influence airlines and flight schools to try to get them to take on some of the financial responsibility. But at the moment, it does cost money to become a pilot. Okay, unless you are really lucky and you manage to get into a government-sponsored program like there is in Sweden, Denmark, Norway, I think Finland, and France. If you can't get in there, then basically the only way to get it to get it without paying is to go through the military, which is something that I don't really recommend people doing, because you need to want to go through the military. It comes with a certain risk, and you are probably going to be bonded to the military for at least 5 to 10 years before you can go on to become a civilian pilot. So what to do then? Well, first of all, I've seen a really positive tendency very lately, okay? That is that, for example, Air France have opened up their cadet program again. That means that they will be paying for successful applicants from 0 up to hero, all right, straight into the right seat. So in France, if you're, or if you're speaking French and you're a European citizen, you can apply to that, and that is one way of not having to pay for your training. I know that Lufthansa has a similar program. Now, they closed their program for applicants about a year ago, I think, but it looks like they're having problems finding people to pay for their training. So it's very likely that the Lufthansa program is going to open up again. And actually, inside of the top tag on the app now, if you go to the homepage, at our home screen, you'll see that there's videos sent in from app users. If you just scroll that to the right, there is a video that was sent in from one of the classes in the Lufthansa flying school. Okay, and if you check that out, I think that there was some problem with it, but you can press the icon and it will send you to YouTube, so you can watch the video even if it doesn't work inside of the app. But that's kind of a compilation of a program that some of the students are doing, where they actually get a degree and as well get their MPL training certificates. If you can't get into any of these guys, then you are going to have to earn the money yourself. All right. What this means basically is you're going to have to go through the modular route. So that will take you longer, and it's going to put more emphasis on your study technique, things like that. You are going to have to put some emphasis into finding flight schools that are both high quality and cheap. Okay, you can find those in Europe, for example. If you look at the Polish schools, they are giving some really good quality for quite a little money at the moment. But it means also that since you're going at a slower pace, it's more possible for you to work alongside. All right, so you can be working at McDonald's or working wherever you're working, taking up the money, saving up for your flight training, maybe saving up, the initial part for your PPL, do your PPL, then continue working alongside, and getting the flight training done as you are earning the money. So it is perfectly possible to do. And your flight training, to get quality flight training, you can expect to pay about 50,000 euros and up, right? You can get it as cheap as 50. You can get it cheaper than that as well, but then probably there's going to be some kind of lack of quality, all right? But around 50,000 and upwards, you can get it for. And I know that that is a mountain of money, but it is perfectly to, over several years, being able to pay that as you go along. Like I said, it's going to take you longer, but it is perfectly possible to do. So it's not closed for people who doesn't have rich parents or aren't able to take a loan. All right, that's what I wanted to say. So I've got some people coming into the super chat now. Thank you very much, Dave. When taxing the 737, if you reduce thrust to idle, does the plane still continue to accelerate? Also, what do you consider a safe max taxi speed? Great questions. No, the 737 does not accelerate on idle. All right, this the Airbus does to a certain extent, because the bypass ratio and the way that their engines are designed, they do actually accelerate if the weight is not very high. So if you have very low passenger load, then the Airbus will accelerate even at idle. But the 737 does not. So we need to anticipate the thrust requirement. Let's see, there we go. So we need to anticipate the thrust requirement, which means that before the aircraft start decelerating, we need to add a little bit of thrust and then let the speed build up a little bit. Then we normally close the thrust levels and we let the aircraft kind of go with the inertia. And as it starts accelerating again, we add a little bit of thrust. Now, safe taxi speeds, these are the speeds that I am using. Okay, so the maximum taxi speed in a straight line on the taxiway is 30 knots, right? If you need to turn more than 45 degrees, we reduce the speed to 10 knots. On an apron, the absolute maximum speed is 15 knots, and on slippery taxiways, we reduce the speed to 5 knots, okay? We can go quicker than that. If we are backtracking a runway, for example, we can go as high as 50 knots. That's because we need to minimize the time on the runway when we're backtracking for takeoff, for example. But generally speaking, very rarely over 30 knots. All right, 10 knots around corners. That's good things to remember when you're taxiing. Taxiing is actually one of those things that takes quite a lot of practice in the beginning. Both because of the fact that the nose wheel is located behind us, right? Just like when you're driving a truck and you have the front wheels behind you, you have to overshoot the taxi lines and then turn to try to always straddle the center line with your main gear, right? So it takes a while to get used to that, and also as you're turning the 737, it requires, it basically creates more drag as you're turning from the wheels. So you have to anticipate the thrust requirement and add a little bit of thrust even before you start turning. Otherwise, the aircraft might stop in the middle of the turn, and you need a lot of thrust in order to get it going again. All right. So taxiing is something that do require quite a lot of training, but it's also really, really fun to do. So that's something to look forward to when you jump over into the left seat. Marty, WW, what do you think about the new Lufthansa livery? I have been seeing it. I've seen it on the 747. I think they showed it off on. I have to say that I'm not a huge fan. Right? I think it looks a little bit too simple. It looks a little bit too cold for me. I think that it's nice when airlines update their liveries, but I really think that they could have made it nicer than at least the ones that I've seen. I might be wrong, and I might get used to it, but I wasn't hugely impressed when I saw the new livery. Yatin Thakur, hey, thank you very much in the super chat. Hi, you're my idol. You only inspired me to become a pilot. Well, thank you very much, and thank you to all of you who are sending in these really nice videos and messages and pictures and everything to me. Just understand that what I am doing here and what I'm trying to achieve is just giving you a window into my life as a pilot. Okay, my views and what I know. Right? It's not the view into every pilot, and also all of the achievements that you guys are doing. I've been getting some emails from people who have managed to get into flight school and who are thanking me for it, and getting into airlines and thanking me for it. That's you guys. You are the heroes there. You are the ones who have been working hard and achieving goals, and you've made it yourself. I'm really grateful that I could be part of your journey, and to a certain extent maybe give you a little bit of motivation and stuff. But remember that you are the hero. You are the one who has managed to get into that flight school. So don't thank me for it. It is your doing completely. Right, let's see then. So, as you can see, the stream is jumping. It's because of the internet here in the hotel. So I will keep going as long as you guys are interested in watching. But I do realize that it might be a little bit tiresome to watch this if it's lagging all the time. Okay, so please tell me the importance of ears or hearing in the pilot job. Well, that one is fairly easy. You do need to be able to communicate with the co-pilot. You need to be able to communicate with our traffic control. You need to hear all different types of oral warnings that we have. So having a good hearing is crucial, and we are checked. Our hearing capabilities are checked regularly on I think it's when you're below 35, it's every 5 years, and then it becomes more quicker, higher intervals like that. But yeah, hearing is important. Cool. Does Ryanair looking for first officers? I believe they are. Ryanair is one of the airlines that are hiring most first officers. They're hiring about 800 new untype rated low level or low hour cadets every year, and that is likely to increase going forward. They have I think about 210 orders of the 737-200 max coming in from 2019 up to 2023. All of those needs to be flown by someone, and that could be you. So yeah, I believe that if you're looking for jobs, Ryanair will be providing jobs for quite a time to come. Daniel Venus, thank you very much, Daniel, in the super chat. What's your views on air cadets and giving the younger generation a taste of aviation and the chance to do flying scholarship? And shout out, yeah, of course, a shout out to you, Daniel. I think that the flying cadets is a really wonderful program. I did something similar in Sweden through the military, actually, where we got to see military jets. We got to go out and fly in a bulldog, and we got to do different things that had to do with the Air Force side of things. And it's a great way to meet friends. It's a great way to meet contacts, and it's a great a taste of aviation. And if you have that aviation bug that I'm guessing that most of you guys do, then you will eat up anything that has to do with aviation. And the Air Cadets is definitely one of those things. So go for it. Absolutely. Air Cadets is a great thing to do, and I have only positive things to say about it. Right, let's see. Do you play X-Plane? No, I don't play any kind of flight simulators at the moment because I am spending so much time either flying or talking about aviation or being inside of an actual full flight simulator, which is what I'm doing here in Bergamo. So no, I don't play any of the big flight simulator games. However, I have said in previous podcasts, and I will say again, that it is a good way of getting to know and understand aircraft systems, especially the FMC and automation. You know, check that out. We also use it. I know friends of mine, the cadets, are using it to practice their IFR skills, to do NDB holdings, VOR holdings, you know, precision approaches, non-precision approaches. It's a good way to get the brain to understand how that works. But no, I'm not doing it myself. I spend too much time in the simulator anyway. Hi, Mentor. Do you know if I pay for flight school in Canada? I think that I'm not sure if Canada could well be one of those countries that have sponsored flight training. I'm not sure about that, but I do believe that it's similar to the American flight training market. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if you have to pay for your training in Canada. Right, I'm getting more questions. I'm getting some questions via my my Apple Watch here as well from the Mentor Aviation app. Mentor, good to see you. Could you tell us about rules of matching captains and first officers? For example, do you have your group of first officers, or does it randomly assign every day? And can a husband and wife pilots plane together? Yeah, so the rules when it comes to matching pilots together are different in different airlines, and it depends on your base and how many pilots are based there. But generally speaking, it's completely random. Okay, obviously we try to match a captain with a first officer because it's the most effective way of doing it. But like you saw in my video that I released last week, two captains can fly together as well. Two first officers obviously cannot. I did get a question, by the way, about why there were two first officers by the controls when the Air France crashed over the Atlantic. And the reason there is that one of them was they were relief pilots. Basically, there was a captain on board. He went to rest, and two first officers were allowed to sit in cruise and do that work. Okay, and that's why there were two first officers at the control when that fateful accident happened. Okay, so that can happen during long haul flights, but in my airline, in more short to medium haul airlines, that doesn't happen. Now, to your question, a wife and a husband can fly together. And we have seen like daughters and fathers flying together, and two generations flying together. There's no problem with that at all. Okay, but there might be the odd airline that has specific rules when it comes to this. It would be surprising to me if they do, right? Because we as pilots should be professional. It doesn't really matter what kind of interrelationship we have, and if there would be a problem As in, if let's say that you are in a relationship, you have a problem with that person, well, then it's up to you as a pilot to let your base captain or your chief pilot know that it's not a good idea to be rostered together with that person, and they can put a kind of a stop on that in the rostering system to make sure that that doesn't happen. Because it's really, really important that from a CRM, from a crew resource management point of view, that you can work well together. So this also happens when if you have a problem with a specific captain, for example, you can, in certain circumstances, contact your base captain or whoever is your closest boss, and tell them that this happens, that you would like to avoid flying with this person, and if there's something particular, that can in some cases be done. All right, but the best thing, of course, is to bring that captain or first officer into the room together with the base captain and have a discussion and make sure that you hash things out, because rostering does not like these kind of restrictions, because it has to be done, the rostering system has to be as flexible as possible. The more restrictions there are, the harder the rostering becomes, and especially if you're flying for an airline that takes almost 900 hours out of their pilots, towards the end of the year there's not going to be too much pilots who have hours left to fly. So these kind of restrictions can be quite hampering for the airline. So less is better when it comes to that. But yeah, you can kind of mix and match whoever you want in rostering. Okay, more questions then from Captain 777. Thank you very much in the super chat. Do first officer address captains as sir? Does this affect vibes in the cockpit? I love your work and hope you have a great Valentine's Day with your family later. Well, unfortunately, like I said earlier in this live stream, I'm away from my family for Valentine's Day. I've sent my wife a bouquet of flowers already, but thank you anyway. Whether or not the first officers address the captain as sir or captain, that is depending on the airline. All right, the older airlines, the flag carriers, I'm sure they do. All right, at least until the captain tells them to stop. But we're living in the 21st century or 22nd. What are we living in the 21st? Anyway, we're living in the 2000s now, and it's kind of old style, old fashioned to be referring to a colleague as sir. All right, at least that's my view. If someone comes up to me and asks, sir, what do you think about this, or captain, what do you think about this, I will tell them to please call me Petter. That's my name. All right, but like I said, it's different between different airlines. It's depending on what we call the cockpit gradient. So the higher the cockpit gradient is, typically Asian airlines, for example, have a very high cockpit gradient, and in that case, you might well be required to refer to your captain as sir or as captain. Okay. I would say that it does affect the vibe. A little bit of experience has shown that airlines that have a little bit of a less of a cockpit gradient tends to have better working CRM. You tend to get co-pilots that are more willing to speak up and speak their mind and say when something is wrong, which is extremely important. Okay, my airline, the cockpit gradient is there, but it's very, very small. We, the captains, are expecting the first officers to speak their mind. We tell them to do so. We treat each other with the utmost respect, but there's never any question of who has the final word, which is going to be the captain. There has to be a little bit of cockpit gradient, but too much cockpit gradient, I think, is very, very hurtful and potentially dangerous. Okay. However, and these are actually some good things that you can remember. All right. It has taken a long time for the captain to reach the position of captain. Okay. When you reach the position of captain, you do expect and want some appreciation or some respect from your first officer. So what I always did as a first officer, and what I kind of give as tips to you guys when you start as well, is show some respect. Okay, do some small stuff that shows that you have respect for the captain. For example, I always made sure that the captain was the first one to enter the aircraft in the morning. I could open it up, but I waited for him or her to walk up the steps first. Okay, that's a tiny little show of respect, but it's important. I always make sure that I ask them before if there was anything that needed to be done, or anything that there was a question about. I would always ask them. So what do you think about this? Would you like me to do this? Basically, little tiny show of respect. You carry the paperwork. If there are manuals or flight plans or stuff, to be taken out to the aircraft. The first officer does that. Even in my airline, that's the way it's been done. Basically common sense. You know, how would you like to be treated when you're a captain? Well, that's how you should be treating your captains. And then, but don't go over the top. If you do, then the captain is going to tell you, stop with that. No, I can do that. But at least, I don't think that there's any captain in the world who takes it bad when you do that. Okay, if you show them too much respect, they will tell you, but they still will think that you're a great girl or great guy. Okay, so these are some tiny little tips that will make the cockpit work go smoother, and especially if you're flying with older captains that comes from types of airlines. If your airline is one of those with very little cockpit gradient, this is a good tip. All right, it's going to make them feel better. They're going to like you better. CRM, the whole day is going to work better if you do these tiny little steps. Okay, they might sound silly, but they're not. Right, how do you deal for 6 a.m. flights the day before? Yeah. Okay, I'm just waiting for this to come back on again. Let's see. Okay. There we go. All right. So how do you deal with 6 a.m. flights the day before? This is kind of like an art form. Okay. The way to deal with flying going from lates to earlys, for example, is that you have to have some quite good self-discipline. All right. And what I mean by that is that you go to bed early. Okay, you make sure that you have a bedroom where you can close the blinds, make it dark, make it fairly cold and nice, quiet. You avoid, social media. That's why I don't do live streams too late when I'm working early. You kind of slow things down and mentally prepare yourself that you need to go to bed early. Okay, don't have stuff in your head if you can avoid it. Go to bed. I go to bed like at maybe 8:30. If I'm gonna get up at 4 or 4:30, I'm gonna go to bed at 8:30. Okay, I will not sit and fiddle with my phone before I go to bed. And then in my case, you start to get used to it after a while. Okay, this is different between different people. Some people find it impossible to go to bed or to sleep before 12 o'clock at night. In that case, you have a problem because you are going to build up a sleep debt. In my case, I can actually now force myself to go to bed and sleep at 9 o'clock. If I go to bed at 8:30, I will sleep around 9, and I will get my maybe 7 hours of sleep, which is a perfect minimum for me. I need 8 hours of sleep, so I still build up a little bit of sleep debt over that time. But it is self-discipline, all right? You need to mentally prepare yourself that you're going to go to bed, and then you need to actually do it, okay? Have a bedroom and make sure that you're not disturbed. And if you have kids, for example, have a separate bedroom. Talk to your wife. Make sure the kids are not running in and out or keeping it quiet, because you will need this. All right. Fatigue management is to a large extent up to you as a pilot. You need to make sure that you get the sleep you need. Right. On the first day of earlys, it's hard. Second day of earlys, you tend to be a little bit tired, because you've been working and you might not have slept as much as you needed. So the second day is going to be easy to go to sleep. Just do it, Get yourself to bed at the time that you should and try to get to sleep. And eventually you will, all right? So, Scott Cole in the super chat, Mentor, where can I take an APS MCC course? It's starting to pop up, all right? I think Ryanair are running it still. I'm not sure that the email address that I provided in the video I did about their program, if that's still valid or not. I have been in contact with Andy O'Shea, the head of training of Ryanair, and he says that to his knowledge that email address that is in the video is still valid. So check that out, okay? Otherwise, I don't know. I think that the APS courses are going to become more and more common. I think that, I'm not sure if Titan Air did that as well, that have a similar program, but they will start to pop up, all right? I don't know all of them, but it's a great way. It's basically a perfect mix between MPL and the old CPL route, right? It kind of takes the best out of both worlds, and they give you the CPL and the MCC and the type rating as part of one final course. So I really like the concept of the APS course. But check out my old video. If Ryanair is still doing it, means that you're only paying a fraction of the cost of the type rating up front. But it's going to be taken out of your salary later on. I mean, this is something that pretty much all airlines do. But at least it's not 30,000 that you need to pick out of your own pocket. Okay? So, Manux BE, what's up, Captain? Not much, just hanging. Do you have any tire pressure monitoring system? And what happens in case you blow out the tire during landing or takeoff? From Ty from Belgium. I don't. All right, 737 does have it. Some airlines do have both tire pressure pressure monitoring system and also a brake cooling monitoring system. We do not have any of those. If you blow a tire during takeoff or landing, it's not really a big deal. All right, you have boogie systems, which means that you know. Okay, so if you do lose a tire during the landing or the takeoff, since there are two wheels, both on both main wheels and the nose gear, you might have problems with braking. All right, because all of a sudden, instead of having two effective wheels that are braking, you now only have one, so that might be an issue. Generally speaking, though, one tire can hold the weight from that both tires were doing, so it's not going to be a huge controllability issue. However, there are other stuff with that. If you break a tire and it actually explodes, it can actually damage things like the flaps behind it. For example, the most famous time that happened was when the tire broke on the Concorde, that then ruptured the fuel tanks, that then led to the fire, that then led to the crash. So it is possible that those things are happen, but it is ultimate misfortune when that happens, if that ever happens. So just if a tire breaks, not a big deal. Okay, we do have techniques if we know about it. Let's say that we're taking off and we heard a bang and it has been confirmed that yeah, it was actually a tire that blew up. Then we have some flight crew training manual tips on how to deal with it, depending on if it's a nose wheel or if it's a main wheel, how to land. But generally speaking, it's not much of a difference. We're just basically dealing with it. Okay, but I wouldn't worry too much about it. So, is the CAD test standard if you fail the ISHADA test? Now, this is a typical test. Christian Cedergren is asking this. Thank you very much, Christian. Now, this is a typical question that I'm not really comfortable answering because I'm not an aeromedical examiner. This is why I did the videos with an actual aeromedical examiner, because I can't answer those questions. So what you need to do is, if you do fail the ISHADA test, then you need to speak to an aeromedical center that is going to assign you a different type of test, or they're going to tell you that unfortunately your specific color deficiency is too grave to get a class 1. In that case, that's obviously a very sad day, but there is a possibility that you might be able to do, I think it's a lantern test or something like that. I don't know what CAD stands for, it might be that, okay? But I can't answer that question because I'm not an aeromedical examiner, sorry. All right, let's see. I'll take some more questions then from the Mentour Aviation app. Guys, get the Mentour Aviation app. If you haven't already, get it, okay, and update it. Go and update it. Make sure that you have registered yourself, and make sure that you have enabled push notifications. The new push notification system is much better, more effective, and now I have a guy, Jack, who you can also see here helping out in the chat. He's helping me with keeping the app moving, right? So there's constantly new material, new documentaries, new videos, new push notifications about chat messages. So make sure that you are in the Mentour Aviation app and that you are active. Because if I can get it bigger, if I can get it better, then I can also invest a little bit of money in it. I can probably get picture sharing and stuff like that into it, which is something I'm really hoping for, but it'll cost me about 10,000 euros to do. So I have to get more people using it in order for me to motivate doing that kind of an investment, which I'm hoping that you guys understand. Let's see. More questions inside. I'll take some here from the normal chat as well. Can you please give me the third cockpit app for free? Third cockpit app for free. no, the app is very simple when it comes to this. Oh, like the only thing that takes in money inside of this app, okay, the only thing that pays for the bandwidth and everything is those paid videos. So the only way to save money on that is to go and buy the complete collection. If you do that, you'll get all of the other paid videos inside. But I can't make the third video free or those kind of things because basically the app doesn't support it. So, but something that I want to do, and I want to hear your thoughts on this as well, is that I am thinking about putting a voluntarily paid video every month, where I just basically come in and I say a few words thanking the guys or girls who are helping the app out, and I'm gonna price it maybe €2 or something, so that anyone who wants to help the app and help the work on the app can go in and every month pay for it. Those who doesn't want to, they don't need to, but at least the facility will be there to, instead of having a subscription based where I'll have a premium and a non-premium app, then I'll put in this at least to start with, where people can voluntarily pay maybe $2 or €2 a month to keep the app working. Would that be something that you guys would want to support? Just tell me yes or no in the chat here. I would be really, really interested in knowing what people think. And while I'm waiting for that, I will have a look. See if there's any more questions in the Mentour Aviation app here. How do I get better in English? I want to speak as fluently as you do. Yeah, actually, what I do with my kids, all right, is that I force them to watch only English videos on YouTube and on TV series, everything like that. And that's basically the easiest and cheapest way of learning English well. It's to force yourself to not watch dubbed videos, never watch dubbed films or anything, only watch original language. Try to listen to it. Listen to things like this, participate in these kind of live streams and YouTube videos and whatever, because when your brain is listening to English, it will automatically make it better. Then you need to practice it as well, and the best way of practicing it is to go to a place like England or Ireland or wherever they speak English, United States, anywhere where you are forced to use the language is the only real way of getting really good at using the language. If you go to school and you pay for schooling, it will only bring you so far. It will only give you the basics. The best way is to actually go get a job at a bar or something when you're young and work for a year or something in an English speaking country. That way your English will be so good that you will never forget it. Nicholas Magnusson, I was watching Russian movies and now I can sort of speak Russian. Well, I mean, you do need a little bit of theoretical background, all right? But most people do have some theoretical background to their English, okay? They just haven't got the exposure to it. And the exposure you get by watching videos and ultimately going somewhere and using it, okay? Cool. More questions. So, hej Petter, hoppas du mår bra från Stockholm, från Gamer FTV. Hej, kul att du är här. Roligt att se att det är svenskar som kommer in här också. Jag skulle vilja göra mer videos på svenska, men i dagsläget så är i princip alla som tittar på den här kanalen pratar engelska. Right, so there, now you have all gotten your little taste of Swedish as well. So if you want to learn Swedish, then you should be watching a lot of Astrid Lindgren videos and all in original language, okay? Swedish is something that I think everyone at some point or another will need. Okay, vilket flygbolag jobbar du för? What airline are you working for? This it was a while since I got this question now, and as always I will be giving the standard answer that I always give, which is what I am not speaking about my employer here on the channel. The reason being that this is a deal that I've done with my airline. They are quite happy with me giving you the kind of videos that I do, telling you about aviation, the world of aviation, telling students about what they can expect, but they do not want me to speak as a spokesperson for my airline. And I'm not a spokesperson for my airline, I'm only a spokesperson for myself, right? And this is the reason that I keep saying, no, I will not talk about which airline I work for, right? It's very easy to find out. Like people who are, following me on Instagram and stuff like that, they will have figured out where I'm working. And it's not a secret. It's just that I do not speak about them. I do not show their logo, and I do not claim that I am a spokesperson for them because they have asked me not to, and I respect that. All right? It's kind of, I don't want to, because I don't want to be held down by them telling me what I can and cannot say. I want to be able to speak freely from the heart, which is what I'm doing. Can you speak Spanish? Bueno, hablo un poco español, pero necesito practicar mucho, mucho más. Tengo palabras, pero faltan muchas palabras también. Por eso mi español no es como mi inglés, ¿vale? Si tú hablas español conmigo, me voy a entenderte, pero no puedo hablar en lo mismo. Vale, mira, falta palabras aquí, pero eso es el problema que tengo y necesito practicar mucho, mucho más, ¿vale? So, yeah, my Spanish is rudimentary. I do speak it. I can get, I wouldn't starve to death in Spain, but the truth is that I should speak much better Spanish than what I do. Okay, and that is partially because where I live, they don't speak that much Spanish. It's mostly Catalan, and also because my wife speaks Swedish to me, and I'm not great at following my own advice and actually kind of bathing myself into the language and watching Spanish videos and stuff like that. I should, and I will. Okay, I promise you, during the year now I will get better at Spanish, but I get by. Om jag snackar norsk? Ja, nej. That's the easiest answer to that. I understand Norwegian, as all Swedish do. But the further north people come from in Norway, the worse, the harder it is for us to understand. But Norwegian and Swedish are really, really close to each other. It's not like Danish. Danish I have a huge problem understanding. And I think most people from northern Sweden, which is where I'm from, have a problem understanding Danish. If you come from Skåne, which is the southern part of Sweden, you do speak Danish or understand it. Right, more questions. Let's see if there's any questions coming up in the super chat. There's nothing there, so let's go to the Mentour Aviation then. Hi Petter, I'm a newbie 737 flyer here. It's my 6th flight on the line training tomorrow, and I tend to screw up the last 100 into landing. Can you recommend me some tips? I can. Right, this is something that I'm actually very good at, which is to give you to help you out with line training. Okay, so the reason that you're screwing up during the last 100 feet is likely one out of two things, okay? 9 out of 10 people flying the 737 in the beginning of line training shy away from the runway. It means that they go high at the end, and the reason for that is the closure rate, right? You are afraid of the cold closure rate because you're flying much quicker than you're used to in your smaller aircraft. All right. The way to get away from that is that you need to physically and mentally force yourself to continue with your normal descent rate of 750 feet per minute, okay? So the poppies are only there to help you down to about 200 feet, okay? Do not overemphasize the poppies, guys. I've done a video on this, you should watch that. But use the poppies, 2 whites, 2 reds, down to about 300 feet or so, right, over the runway. From that point on, you should be focusing on the touchdown zone. And what I mean by the touchdown zone is not the zone, not the markings that are next to the poppy, but the markings ahead of that, right? So you're aiming at that. That point should not be moving in the window. So force yourself to continue to descend, even if it feels scary, okay? Then you're listening out to coming down to 50 feet. You will hear the GPWS call out, 50, 40, 30, 20, 10. Between 20 and 30 is where you should be starting to check. And what I mean by that is not starting to actually flare, but check where you need, where the controls are, how much you need in order for the aircraft to respond. So it's a small movement, all right? That's between 20 and 30. At between 10 and 20, that's when you initiate the flare. So you initiate the flare, it's about a couple of degrees, push back, and you're now looking down the runway, all right? So you feel by the peripheral vision, you can feel how the aircraft is moving up and down. So as you're now coming into the flare, you're pitching back a little bit and simultaneously closing the thrust levers. So ideally, your thrust levers are completely closed as you touch down. They shouldn't be closed before then. But the point here is that you need to force yourself to continue to descend. I actually still think continue to descend when I'm getting in there, and especially at night landings when you don't have that great peripheral vision. All right, force yourself to continue to descend. Do not overemphasize the poppies. Look down the runway, and then just arrest the descent rate. Okay, it's not about doing a really nice smooth landing. It's not about stalling out the aircraft like you did in the Cessna or the Piper or whatever you flew. This is about the arresting the descent rate. Do not overflare, because the aircraft will continue to fly then or even climb. That's when your line training captain takes over the controls. But just do that and try to get them the same every single time, right? Aim at that touchdown mark that you've decided on. Force yourself down to it. Start the flare at around 20 feet or so. Close the thrust level slowly. Do not overflare and touch down. And it's going to be great, and it's going to work every time. All right, good. Use that. So, Jinso, let's see. All right, waiting a little bit. And we are back. Good. So as you can see, the stream kind of comes and goes. I think it's because of other people using the internet, not only me. Anyway, so Jinso Defiler. That's a great name, by the way. Did you ever fly for the military? No, I did not. I was an airport firefighter when I did the military service in Sweden. I never flew any military jets. I've been on some of these like camps for military youth, where I've been, like I said in the beginning of the stream, where we did some basically flying with some smaller military aircraft, but never any military jets. Okay, but no, the answer to the question is no, and I have never had any real wish to fly military jets either. I'm sure it would be really cool to try, and if you happen to be a military pilot out there that wants to offer it to me and wants to do a video about it, feel free to contact me, because I would love to try it, but not as a career. All right, I think it's a great career, but you would really want to be interested in the military aspect of it, which I am not. So, Prime Legionaries. Okay, how do you pick which pilot school to go to? Yeah, so you need to do proper research. This is something that I've said many times before, and I will continue to say. So the first thing you do is you have a budget, right? So you know what kind of budget you're looking at, what kind of money you're willing to spend. And then using that, you now start to look at flight schools that can give you the training for that budget. When you have found some schools that works for you, that might be that you can live at home, that might be a good thing, but also it might be that you can move somewhere where you can stay reasonably cheap, and the flight training might be much cheaper there. So you might be able to save tens of thousands of euro by moving away for 2 years. All right, and if the rent in those places, like in Poland, for example, or in Spain, is much lower than this at home, well, then maybe it's worth doing. Right, so check that out. Check how that's going to affect your decision making and your budget. Okay. Then, when you have narrowed it down, you'll probably come up to about 3 to 5 different schools. Okay. So when you've done that, then it's time to go and actually visit these schools. So you need to go there. You need to check out their facilities. You need to speak to their instructors, then their current students, and you can also go out on the internet and find forums where maybe the Mentour Aviation app, for example, you can ask me and I'll send out a push to see if someone had gone to that school, and then maybe you can get in contact with a previous student that can tell you, these are the pros and these are the cons. But basically you need to now go into a much deeper research, and then once you have gone and visited all of these schools, might take a while, but you will have a quite good feeling then. Some of the schools are going to feel like, yeah, that felt really nice, I really liked those instructors, and some of them are going to be like, Well, in that case, now you have narrowed it down even more. But the key here is not to just sign up to a flight school, because it's really important. It's a lot of money, and you can save or lose shitloads of money by making proper decisions here. Right? This is not a decision that should be taken lightly, because it's probably one of the biggest investments and potentially most risky investments that you will ever do. So let it take a time. Take at least 6 months from when you've decided, now I want to start, until you actually start. Use those 6 months to do proper research before you sign your name to any paper. Also, make sure that you check the financial situation of the school. Now, this is not something that I've said before, I think, but there are schools out there that might be giving you a very good price. Okay, so they're telling you that, yeah, if you come to my school, you are going to get the training for 35,000 euros. And you think, wow, that's like 25,000 cheaper than any of the other schools. That should raise a warning flag. I am saying with quite good confidence that doing flight training, in order for that to be viable economically for the flight school, and for them to have good stuff and keep up their maintenance, and they're paying their flight instructors well, they need to charge at least 50,000 euro. Okay, 50,000 euro, if you have to pay the cost, is a minimum, I would say. Anytime that you find price of an integrated, I'm saying integrated course now, less than 50,000, that should raise some flags. You need to know why it's cheaper, and you need to check out the flight school, make sure that they have good, sound financial status. That might be harder than you think to do, but it's really important, because I have come into contact with people who have paid money. Say they paid 35 or 40,000 in. They've gone to the school, started their training, and about halfway down the training, the school shuts down because of lack of money. That money, you've already paid it in, is gone. Right? It's gone. You can't get it back. The flight school has gone into bankruptcy. They don't have any money to pay you back, and you have to pay it again to a new flight school. So mark my words, guys. Check the flight schools out. Make sure that you're dealing with really good flight schools. Okay? This is really important, and I cannot overemphasize this. So, Fry 189, Petter, does Swedish government pay you when you had to be working as a firefighter? Yeah, but it was part of my military service, so they paid almost nothing. But it was, it's a kind of a, they pay for food, they pay for you staying there, they do give you a little bit of salary, but it's part of kind of like a schooling program, so they didn't pay much. But what I did do, though, is because I did this, I was a trained firefighter after that, which means that I could get employment as a firefighter. So what happened was that when I did the second part of my training, when I did my MCC course and my multi-engine training, I could actually work at the airport I was training in Västerås in Sweden as a firefighter and a ramper. So because I had that training with me, I could now get like part-time employment, so I could work during the weekends and earn some money as I was training, which was brilliant, right? So it was definitely worth it for me. Right, so is there anyone misbehaving here in the chat? It seems like it is. I don't like that, guys. Like, my channel is all about being positive and constructive. Do not mistreat each other either in the chat, nor in the app, nor on the YouTube page. All right, I do not accept it. And I might sound like a nice guy and like I'm always smiling, but if someone is misusing my trust on this, I will make sure that they are getting banned. Okay, so. This is also part of your training to become pilots, guys, is that do not misuse the confidence of someone who's trying to help, right? Because when it comes to the aviation business, there's no room for that, right? This is a stone hard, fairly cold world where those kind of things are not accepted. You need to work in a professional way. You need to treat your co-pilots, your co-workers, and anyone around you, be them ramp personnel, dispatchers, engineers, flight cabin crews. You need to treat them with proper respect, guys, right? And it's the same for you in this chat in the Mentour Aviation app, right? Good. I hope that's clear. Okay, Jordan calls. A few streams ago, you ended with "on that bombshell." Are you a Top Gear or Grand Tour fan? Yes, I love Top Gear. I think I think that those guys have the coolest job in the world. All right, I haven't actually seen the Grand Tour episodes yet. Don't ask me why. I just haven't. But I usually take them as an example of, how people think that, for example, being a pilot is the best job in the world, and you still have pilots complaining about having the best job in the world. Well, I usually take the Top Gear team as an example of where someone actually had the best job in the world, where they were getting paid hundreds of thousands of pounds every year to go out and travel around the world and drive the coolest cars on the planet, right? There is no better job than that. But they still, or at least Jeremy, still managed to screw it up by being obnoxious to a co-worker. So that just goes to show that no matter how good of a job you have, unless you appreciate what you do, you will still become miserable. You will still screw it up in some way. So this is why being successful in a job like this, even though the job is really cool, you need to sit down and appreciate what you have, which is what I do, which is what I'm showing to you guys. I love my job. I love my co-workers, what I do. I don't love everything about it. I have bad days. I have earlies that I don't want to get up to. I have long days. I have delays. I have stuff that irritates me, just like in any job. But the main core thing here, guys, is that too, right? You need to appreciate what it is. What are app questions? APP questions. I'm not sure what you are referring to there, Science Alcan. App questions. I don't know. Does anyone else know? All right. Guys, can you see me? Yeah, I'm back again. It will cut out now and then, guys. Unfortunately, that's just the way that this works. Mr. User ASD. So I see that you contributed in the super chat, but there we go. Do you need a university degree, like a Bachelor of Aeronautical Engineering or something like that? The degree which comes with the flight training for better career perspectives in Europe. In some cases you do. In Europe, not so much, because in Europe most airlines do not require you to have a degree. However, it's definitely a good thing, and it's something that you can fall back on. In the United States, it's almost mandatory to have a degree. And in some cases, if you get a degree from a special aviation university, it actually reduces the amount of hours that you need in order to get a job in the United States as well. So in the US, more important. In Europe, less important. But I do think that there are still some flag carriers out there who do require you to have a degree in order for you to apply. In order to know that, you go into the recruitment pages of these airlines and it will state exactly what it is that you need. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Kamil Knitz, thank you very much. Did you have a glider pilot license? No, I did not. I've tried gliding, but I didn't do it as a 15-year-old. Basically, I was so focused, even as a 14-year-old, to become an airline pilot. I didn't spend any of my money doing anything that was non-related to becoming an airline pilot. So I didn't take it. But instead I got into the school I wanted at 17, and I started building on my commercial license already at that age. So that's the way that I did it. Okay, cool. Let's see, guys, we're coming up to an hour now. I hope that has been enough aviation for you. I'm sorry about the kind of jiggy connection that I have here in the hotel, but to be perfectly honest, it's actually worked better than I thought it would. So there are some questions here that are coming up. Can you please tell us which step-to-step guide on how to get an ATPL and which flight schools you choose? Well, the flight schools you choose I've just talked about. Basically, that's the step-to-step guide there. I have done some videos about all the different aviation licenses. So if you go back in and you see the different playlists that I have here on the channel, you will be able to find that. Okay, you will be able to find the different pilot licenses, what they contain, and also the how to become an airline pilot or how to become a pilot video tells you a little bit about the different paths that you can take. So I'm not going to sit here and say it again, just check out those videos. Okay. Cool. Right, guys, will you ever do a video with Captain Joe? I don't know, maybe. Captain Joe hasn't been uploading for a while. He will probably be uploading this Thursday. I think that he has a new video on the way. I am working on my video for Thursday. I haven't actually made it yet. All right, I'm going to go and do some filming tomorrow for the video that's coming on Thursday. So I'm lagging a little bit behind. But Captain Joe, I believe, is getting back, and when he's back, then we might do something. We'll see. It's going to be largely up to him. Okay. College answers. So what are the college questions about if you need college or not? It's the same thing there. Right? You're gonna have to go into the individual airlines and watch. I think in the US it's more important than it is in Europe. But yeah, I mean, a college degree is probably a good thing to have, even though it's not mandatory to have. Excellent, guys. That's going to be it for today. I'm going to take some last question here from the Mentor Aviation chat. Mentor, should I get a job now and save up to under minimum wage? I am 14, or should I wait? Well, if you're 14, you should be focusing on your school, all right? You need to have good grades, and you need to understand the different subjects you're doing in order to be successful in your flight training later on. So, yeah, sure, you can take a part-time job, but I would be focusing all my energy on making sure that you're doing well in school if you're only 14 years old. More questions. And Mentor, I'm starting my 737-900 type rating soon. Could you please Let's see. It's a question here. Could you please give some tips like what I should focus on, including the CLNG differences course, and any good app for 737 TR theory tests? Not sure about the apps. All right. When it comes to what you should be focusing on is, I would say that start with the technical part. Read through, if you get manuals early, read through and study up on the technical FCOM 1, FCOM 2 part of your type rating. So the more you're ahead when you get into the type rating, the more you can start focusing on SOPs and scan flows and stuff together with your sim partner when you're actually together with them in the sim center. So start with the technical part, then kind of gradually go into the SOPs and the scan flows. If you want to see how the scan flows are working, it's an overview. In the Mentour Aviation app, I have a full setup playlist. Get that, and you can watch me do a full setup from cold and dark all the way up to taxi. That's probably a good way of just getting to visualize it a little bit. It might not be exactly the SOPs that you will be using, but it's definitely something that I've heard is helpful. So do that. When it comes to type rating apps, unfortunately, I'm not sure. But my own app, you should get it anyway, because it's free. So, cool. That's it, guys. That's up to 1 hour and 1 minute now. I hope you're doing absolutely fantastic. Make sure that you are tuning in to watch my video release on Thursday. Hopefully I have done a video by then. Have an absolutely fantastic day wherever you are, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye. All right, guys. Let's see. Can you still hear me? Hi, guys. I just wanted to check again, see if it was working. I just want to make sure that I didn't miss any of the super chat questions here. And apparently it's gone again.